What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of the main event show hosted by your Australian Daniel. Last week I didn't get to give you all a Merry Christmas. So yeah, wishing you all a Merry Christmas. And those who don't celebrate, hopefully you had a break or enjoyed your time off. Here in Australia, we actually have a summer Christmas. So I don't know the Fahrenheit conversion, but it was about 30 degrees Celsius on Christmas Day. And if I quickly search that up, comparing that to Fahrenheit, it would be approximately 86 degrees. So yeah, we had a hot summer Christmas Day, which is quite normal here in Australia, which is cool. And yeah, had a good time, obviously, but keen to, continue the content as we close off the year, moving on to 2025. And what better way to do it than having a review of what's happened in main event. And really hope you enjoyed last week's episode. If I'm honest, just the first time, just seeing how things obviously work, how we can kind of, structure everything, talk about, and as you know, not many matches happen in main event, only 2. So that's where we have the opportunity to normally review SmackDown or Raw. Mostly Raw because the show happens after main event. And yeah, again, that allows me to kind of give my opinion. So if this is your first time listening to the main event show and you haven't had a look at the first episode, feel free to do so as well. And while you're there, feel free to have a look at all the other podcasts we have with the creator of the show, Man, and others that are doing SmackDown and NXT. But yeah, without further ado, let's begin with the show. So we started off with Pete Dunne taking on Dragon Lee. So 2 familiar WWE superstars who have probably struggled to get much airtime on Raw or have anything kind of relevant. We know Pete Dunne's just out there getting teased for his nickname, which I'm not going to say because I don't want Pete Dunne to give me any grief, but we all know what it is. And then Dragon Lee as well, trying to fill the boots of Rey Mysterio, obviously with LWO, having a few matches here and there on Raw, but nothing to the point where you're thinking there's something or there for either of them, if I'm honest. But they have a match here. I'm timekeeping this time, and this one went for about 7 minutes and 51 seconds. It was actually a pretty solid match. A lot of back and forth, a lot of incredible moves displayed, if I'm honest. Especially at the start, you can tell that these guys have some decent chemistry together, which was good. But it ended up Pete Dunne getting the victory here. And I guess that might lead to potentially Pete Dunne having some more opportunities next year. But I really think that there isn't going to be much for him unless there is anything opened up, because yeah, I think that the roster is really deep right now, and Pete Dunne hasn't been able to, break through. The match with Sheamus, or the feud with Sheamus, was supposed to, level him up there, and obviously Sheamus was trying to put him over, but it didn't seem like it really worked out. And credit WWE for trying. It was a worthwhile feud. It made Pete Dunne turn heel. It allowed him to kind of just go into that dark side, but nothing really happened much with him after that. And maybe with this win, there might be some more things for Pete Dunne, but it does seem like he is floating between Raw, NXT, and then also the main event. So it's going to be really hard for, I think, him to get some primetime or even mid-card spots on any of the main shows. A move to SmackDown could be in the cards, but again, I don't really see him doing much there. And in terms of Dragon Lee, I guess it's big shoes to fill there. With Rey Mysterio, he does have the potential, but I feel as though that the loss here hasn't helped him or won't help him for the future. But nevertheless, a really good match. Like, you could see, and when we're going to talk about the next fight, the difference in kind of quality when it comes to the WWE superstars that are on the main show, in contrast to new and upcoming NXT superstars. This is my personal opinion though, but they seemed a lot more comfortable together and were able to kind of showcase a pretty decent match. So not many complaints about the match, sorry, but in terms of kind of where these two are going to head off. And I think that's kind of the main story of Main Event, is when we're trying to see whether there is potential for them to get off this card, or whether their talents are elsewhere in NXT, or even pushing up potentially to like a low card when reviewing these matches. Because other than that, there's not really much to go off. There's no promo work, there's no feuds, but basically just seeing how kind of they look in ring and what their characters can do outside of that will be the most important thing. And I think that's something that when they get on the shows at Raw, they can improve on, because I don't think the wrestling is the issue with these two superstars. I just think the attractiveness to fans, getting people interested in their characters, or being able to hold some good promos, is something that I think is what's lacking with these two. But yeah, nevertheless, moving on, what I'll do is review the second match of Main Event, which was Josh Briggs against Dante Chen. And Dante Chen's been looking pretty popular on NXT, especially with his fan base being from Singapore and having that kind of that edge on him as well. Seemed that he was doing pretty well, winning his last two Main Event matches he's been on, and kind of getting on a decent hot streak. But that was kind of shut down with Josh Briggs, who, if I'm honest, don't really know too much about him. From the research I've done, he's had a lot of work in Japan, but from what I've seen, he does look like a massive and a big powerhouse wrestler. Someone that could potentially come into WWE as a heel and do some damage, but feel as though that I think a run on NXT might be imminent for him. I'm not sure whether he's been on NXT in the past or not, but again, from reviewing this match, which went for 5 minutes, by the way, just over 5 minutes, 5 minutes and 1 second, he did get the win, as I mentioned, and he looked really good. I think the cockiness, the attitude, the ego was something refreshing to see on Main Event as well. You don't really see many superstars really give a much personality or attitude inside rings and taunting, and Josh Briggs definitely did that. Dante Chen at a point did kind of fall back, and you thought that he would get the momentum and win the match, especially with all the trash talking Briggs was doing. I thought that was going to get completely shut down, but again, Briggs showed his power with a mean clothesline, and was able to finish the match. And I guess, not go to that typical stereotype of someone that just talks trash in the ring and then ends up getting shown out when it comes to actually proving it. But yeah, again, I think Dante Chen will be fine. I think he'll feature on Main Event once again, but it'd be good to see him, I guess, elevate to the WWE ranks, and I feel like he'd bring in a very big crowd as well, given that he's of South Asian descent, and there's a lot of backing there, especially in his hometown of Singapore. And Josh Briggs, I think, move to NXT might be good, and maybe just tracking his progress and seeing how he goes there, and then potentially moving on to WWE on the main card, Raw and SmackDown, and being a strong heel. Because from what I saw, he did look, I guess, pretty good. But not really much else to comment on Main Event. But a lot to comment on Raw, which last week's episode covered obviously by Matt and everything. So not going to go dive for dive on it. But essentially, Drew McIntyre coming into the ring is what obviously the main event show showed. They don't show all of Raw, but they do show some snippets. And the snippet here was Drew McIntyre coming into the ring, basically saying that no one in the locker room reached out to him when a family member of his passed away or something terrible happened to them. And as he was mentioning that, Sami Zayn comes out, delivers a somewhat effective promo, a good way to get onto the side of all the fans, explaining how they go through all hardship, people go through hardship, he himself has gone through hardship, and he still had to show up to work as WWE Universe as we do, and do not point the finger. Matt said it perfectly. Do they really? Because I'm pretty sure not everyone doesn't point the finger. I feel like that happens a lot too. So that was questionable, but I guess it's a way of kind of just making Drew look smaller than when he was. And going on, Drew obviously looked a bit shocked and surprised, then replied that all his family's in Scotland, so it's a lot harder for him. and that he has no issues taking Sami Zayn out because he's the least of his worries. And then that transitioned into a match, which is what we got towards the later end of the show, and we obviously know the result for that. Drew McIntyre taking out the win. Sami was a little bit protected here. I think it didn't hurt him too much because of the fact that he had that back injury, but no surprises that Drew won the match there. But what did happen after was Drew obviously pulling out some attacks. Then Jey Uso coming into the ring, trying to obviously help Sami out. Feels as though he's the next person to go at it with Drew. And then later on, we had Solo and half his bloodline come out, Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu, going into and laying into to both Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, with Drew leaving the ring. Obviously, that signifying and showing that this Trouble Combat is not over. Roman Reigns and Solo will go at it on Netflix, on the debut of Netflix for Raw. And it looks as though that the Bloodline feud is still going on. So continue to look out for that. It's going to be interesting to see how kind of Drew does get involved with this. Obviously, his issues are with the Bloodline, or the original Bloodline, and with Roman Reigns. But the fact that you've got kind of Solo and his Bloodline involved, you've also got The Rock potentially coming back. A lot of factors here, a lot of things are circled around the OG Bloodline. And as we get into WrestleMania, it's going to be interesting to see, I guess, how that will kind of play out with so many kind of variables involved there. And I think the final mention of the show, and the final thing that they did show was the Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods coming out to the ring. And one thing that I was disappointed about, which kind of annoyed me, was hearing the crowd. I know that the crowd was, well, not hearing them itself. I'm more talking about what WWE does on TV is that they kind of make the crowd noises themselves and edit it on their end. And I don't know if it was just me. Let me know if you think it was the same, but it sounded shocking. Like, it didn't match up with how they were delivering their promos. You could tell that the chants were not authentic. They weren't actually coming from the crowd. And I know that it was a double taping, so obviously the crowd was not going to have as much energy. But I felt like WWE could have done a much better job in making that sound a lot more realistic, because those boos were not matching up with the promo that Kofi put out. And basically, Kofi comes out, Xavier Woods comes out, trying to essentially explain themselves and what they did, saying that they could have beaten down Big E. And then Kofi mentioned that he brought his mum from Ghana all the way to his hometown. She had to fly a middle seat, which is a really funny mention there from Kofi. Not really nice putting your mum in a middle seat, especially with all the money you have. But yeah, that was funny. And then him going down to her to try to apologize, and her mum essentially walking away. And yeah, I guess my take from everything that happened, because I haven't gone into the New Day stuff, we all knew that Xavier Woods was eventually going to turn heel. At first, when it did happen, what happened, that Kofi and Xavier ended up being together, fighting against E and turning heel together, I thought it was a bad move initially, because I thought it doesn't really do much for Xavier Woods' single run. I thought the whole point of Xavier splitting up was for him to elevate to a solid heel, getting some titles, and I guess going on a crazy run. But seeing how Kofi Kingston has embraced his heel role has been very refreshing. Like, I'm very surprised of how Kofi Kingston has been on the mic, and I don't know if it's just me, but like seeing him do it, it just kind of makes me feel like he's more just as evil as Xavier Woods is. The way he's been talking, the way he's obviously involved his mum. And if you go on social media, he's put up a Christmas post and he's cut out his mum. I think, well, we've never seen Kofi be a heel. Like, we've never seen Xavier be a heel per se, but we saw the lead up to what it could happen. But seeing Kofi just become this straight up heel, when he's always been just the power positivity of the New Day, he's always been someone to root for. He's never really scratched that surface. Again, has been refreshing, and it's been great. Like, I'm really happy with how it's kind of changed up, and it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen with those two. I suspect that they're going to have a good title run. I feel like they're going to win another tag team champion. I would love to see what their new music will be like, because they haven't been coming out to any music, which I'm sure is done deliberately. But yeah, so much to kind of, I guess, uncover with these two and see where that takes us. I'm not sure if Big E's coming back. I know there's suspicions that they're going to feud with him and he may come back at the Royal Rumble. But maybe if that doesn't happen, if it's still true that he's not cleared to wrestle, I definitely think there is an opportunity there for them to win another tag team title and continue to technically be a multiple-time tag team champion, because they haven't said they got rid of the New Day yet. So it might just be a completely different New Day, obviously without Big E. And yeah, it will be very interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, that's all for this week's review. Again, just continuing to try get out as much content as possible for you guys, being able to just show what I can display here. Obviously, 2 matches is not really much to talk about, especially with no promos or no stories behind it. But again, having the platform to, I guess, speak about it is a plus anyway. But yeah, this is probably going to be the last show of the year until next week. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this did come out a little bit late again because yeah, these episodes in Australia, they just seem to not come out on the right time. So just been waiting for episodes to come out. They're coming out a little bit later. But at least this one managed to come just 3 days after it was filmed. Well, this is filmed Monday Night Raw, but they get this out usually on Thursdays. So I was able to view it on Saturday here. So that was a bit of a plus. I was able to get this out, today. So again, thank you for tuning in. And we'll catch you on the next one. And have a happy new year as well. And yes, all the best for everyone out there. And hope 2025 brings some good wrestling content and some more amazing laughs as well for you all. Cheers.